time as well. All right, well, happy Wednesday afternoon, everyone. So really appreciate everybody joining today, kind of going over the kickoff of the MyLearn Design Lab, and appreciate those that have expressed an interest in participating, learning a little bit more as well. So as we kind of walk through the docket today, we'll provide an overview of the design lab and kind of what you can expect and what you can expect us to deliver for you as part of that process. So we'll kind of walk through that. We'll introduce the teams of wonderful individuals we have brought together from a number of institutions to help support the work that you want to accomplish as a college or university to advance some curricular reforms. So Christine, if you want to advance the slide. So the design lab, I want to give a tip of the hat to the folks over at MyLeap who are helping fund some of the work. The Michigan Center for Adult College Success, we're going to be the leads on this effort and partnership and with the support of MyLeap. And then we brought together folks from CBEN, ESG, SOVA, and CALE, and we'll be providing a few minutes a little bit later on for them to introduce their team so you can see who you're all working with throughout this effort. Go ahead to the next slide. So before we dive in too much, I just wanted to provide some level setting of what you can expect from us as the MyLearn team and how we're going to be supporting your work and really try and serve as an extension of your team. We know a lot of the institutions are capacity constrained at the moment. We want to make sure that you understand what participation looks like and what you can get out of us and how we can help move forward the goals that your institution may have in the world of curricular reforms. So we're going to be presenting evidence-based strategies from our expert practitioners, which you'll get to meet here in a little bit. We're going to have convenings where we can provide some useful insights into your adult learner population. We've got some great research and data and that we can do some analysis work on your behalf so you can better understand your adult learner population. And one of the key aspects of this design lab, much like the last one, is we'll have coaching and additional supports to help you kind of develop those implementation plans, or if you've already got some started, kind of how do you move those forward and connect you with those actionable strategies on how do you get this work done. Because you can have a wonderful plan on paper, but it takes a lot more to actually get it implemented in there. We can help guide you in that process. And then one of the last pieces, unlike our previous design lab, we don't have a guaranteed pot of money at the end of this one, but we are committed to working with each of the institutions to identify opportunities to get the additional resources you may need to implement the plans that you develop throughout this process. So I was really excited to see today in the governor's executive recommendation, budget recommendation today, that they've proposing a new pot of student success grants for the next budget year, for the next fiscal year. Hopefully that survives the legislative process and we can prepare the institutions that are going through this process to successfully apply for some of those dollars. So with that, Christine, if you want to go to the next slide. We'll kind of go through the introductions, and first we'll tell you a little bit about us if you're not familiar with the Michigan Center for Adult College Success. So the Michigan Center for Adult College Success, we regularly call ourselves just the center. We're really focused on research, support, and investing in institutions. All along, how do we get more adults the post-secondary credentials that they need to thrive and find great paying jobs in the state of Michigan? So we were created by the state of Michigan about 2.5 years ago. And with a focus of being the state's primary resource for best practices for adult post-secondary enrollment, persistence, and completion. So we do this through research and then support as the programs like the design lab that we're offering. And while we don't have new dollars yet, we have made some investments to help stand up some system change efforts to support adult learners. Move on to the next slide. So why do we do this? So we were created kind of out of the 60 by 30 initiative, and we're really focused on that 48.2% of adults in Michigan that lack a post-secondary credential. And I mean, the good news is that number, we got to change it on the slide this week because Lumina just released their new numbers and we actually made some headway on it. So it used to be 48.9. So we've gotten 0.7% on the way there. So we're making progress. And it's really looking at, how do we, all of the benefits that come with getting adults a post-secondary credential. There are opportunities for economic mobility and so that they can truly thrive, obviously boosting enrollment and success of our post-secondary institutions. For our legislative crowd and our policymakers, we always highlight, the more folks we have getting good paying jobs, it increases tax revenue and reduces burden on the social safety net programs. One stat I really wanted to lift up for this crowd, because as the institutions, you've all been feeling this, but I think the stat really puts it in perspective. Over the last 15 years, the size of our high school senior class has dropped 20.5%. So we've seen a tremendous reduction in the population of our, graduating seniors. It's not our actual graduating class numbers haven't been quite as bad because we've boosted graduations in rates in the state lately. So that's kind of help offset that. But the total number of kids in that senior class have dropped dramatically over the last 15 years. So hopefully the work that we do through this process will better position everybody to take advantage of that 48.2% of adults without a post-secondary credential, which is roughly about 2.5 million individuals in the state. Guiding our work, we published a landscape analysis last year that gives a little bit of background on kind of where we're at in the state when it comes to post-secondary education for adults, highlights some of the barriers, the promising strategies, and some key opportunities moving forward. So these will really give what's really the background on, this document helps guide our work and what we're doing throughout this design process. And we'll also be updating this because it's now about 1.5 years old. So hopefully later this year, we'll have an update to it with some new numbers and stats and highlighting some new best practices that have been implemented across institutions in Michigan as well. So go ahead to the next slide, Christine, and I will turn it over to Christine from Education Strategy Group to kind of introduce her team.
Well, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Christine Barrow, Director of Post-Secondary Attainment with Education Strategy Group. Just wanted to take a moment to share a little bit about who we are and introduce you to our team. We are a mission-focused consulting organization that is really focused on making sure that we smooth the transition points for our learners. So that includes transitions through K-12, transitions between K-12 and post-secondary, and transitions between post-secondary and the workforce. And even within our post-secondary institutions, thinking about the transition between non-credit programming and credit programming. So we do a lot of that. And so we are guided by a mission that is really focused on making sure we've got a more equitable society for all learners. We can share a little bit more about the work that we do as we work together over the course of the next couple months. In the meantime, introducing you to our team. We have Disraeli here on the call, as well as Kaylee. Both of them bring a wealth of experience, both in the post-secondary space, but also in that connection to workforce. Both also have experience working on adult and working learner related projects, as well as curriculum that will help us with this work. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues at SOVA.
Much, Christine. Hi, everybody. I'm Allison Kedlick, founding partner of SOVA. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces and to see new faces here today. So we are a mission-driven consultancy focused on genuine upward mobility and making good on this country's promise about fair opportunity and its relationship to upward mobility. We have team members from lots of different backgrounds. I'm a former faculty member. We have people who have backgrounds in community organizing, backgrounds in institutions as administrators, and policy experts on our team. We bring a set of values. We're going to be the coaching team, and I'll show you our team here in a second. We bring a set of values to our work that is grounded on meeting institutions where they are, and showing up with deep respect, close listening, and nimble shoulder-to-shoulder partnership. So we're here to help you do the work that you want to do, and we're excited about that. We also know that real positive change for students is the result of courageous leadership on the part of people at every level of an institution. And so we do focus a lot of our work on process improvement, change management, and implementation support for student success work. And when we think about leadership, we think about leadership at every level. So we're excited to be here. And if you roll to the next one, please, Christine, thank you. So this is your coaching team. We're here in alphabetical order. And several of us are here today: Rohit Tandon, Bruce Fendel, and Leslie Fishbeck. Leslie's our project manager and coordinator, and an absolute hero in our work, and we're so grateful she's a part of the team. Jennifer Johnson is not here today with us, but she is a former curriculum chair and in nursing in community college settings in California, and she is one of our great tested coaches. Depending on the number of institutions that participate, she might, or the types of projects that institutions choose to focus on, she might be a dedicated coach. Rohit and Bruce both bring decades of experience supporting institutions in doing large-scale, really important systemic focused work on improving outcomes for today's learners, including adult students. So we are really excited to be here, and we'll be looking forward to supporting you in the ways that make sense to you along the way. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see Allison. It's great to see you and friends along the way. So I'm Lori Dodge, and I'm Vice President of Quality Assurance and Accreditation at CBEN. And next week, Ryan will be back on board at CBEN. He's out for paternity leave, and so we're very excited. Some of you may have met him. Ryan comes from the University of Wisconsin system, knows a lot of the ins and outs of competency-based education. Prior to joining CBEN, I was at University of Massachusetts Global as faculty member, vice provost and provost, and helped build competency-based education programs. So we're very excited to be part of the team. For those that are new to CBEN, CBEN really is a network of organizations, members, institutions, employers, and vendors who are looking at revolutionizing the design of curriculum. So what does learning look like in today's world? And, and what can we learn that's learner-centered by how learners are engaged in the material and then demonstrate that. So CBEN works with a network of leaders in education, looking at hiring and training across the full ecosystem. So there's 3 areas of work for CBEN. One is capacity building, where we look at driving innovation and sharing of models across systems and across institutions. The middle is community, building that community of care around competency-based education. I can tell you when I started in working with competency-based education, there weren't a lot of CBE friends. And now we have a whole community of folks to reach out to and ask questions. And then the third area is our one-to-one work, consulting with institutions, state systems, and employers. And then the last slide is just to give you a flavor of some of the areas that CBEN has worked in, both institutional and associations. So University of Kansas system, so R1s, University of Nebraska, Omaha, building CBE programs. We've also done probably about 3 years now of work with the American Association of Colleges and Nursing and Teacher Education. We worked across systems in Kentucky and California, Tennessee, and also the ecosystem where we have to kind of knit this all together, both with states and governments and agencies. So thank you. I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill McKinney, and I serve as a Senior Director of Initiatives on the Higher Ed team with CALE, the Council for Adult and Experiential Learning. It's a real pleasure to be here in a virtual setting, in a virtual room with so many individuals and organizations who are focused on very, very similar kinds of work. Just in brief, a little bit about CALE before I turn things over to the rest of our team. But very briefly about us, we are a national nonprofit, a little north of 50 years old now. We just celebrated our 50th birthday last year. Finalized that with our big national conference that we had in New Orleans last year. Some of you may have been there. But our work is very singularly focused on improving the lives of adult learners and workers, and of course, the communities within which they live. We do that by, and the way I used to always love to describe this is CALE really serves like the old ancient Rosetta Stone that translates between a wide variety of constituents. And you can see here on this graphic the wide variety of constituents with which CALE works to really focus our work that is in large part very data-driven work. And we'll get into that in here a little bit in terms of the work that we'll be doing with you all. But we work with post-secondary education providers, we work with workforce development boards, mission-aligned funders, economic development organizations, of course, employer and industry groups, really all focused on improving the lives of those adult learners and workers. So if you would please advance to the next slide, I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Alamir Atrero, who will be our project manager for our part of this project, to introduce you to the rest of our team and a little bit about what we'll be doing with you. Alamir?
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As Bill mentioned, my name is Alamir Truro. I serve as a project manager for our work with CALE. I serve as a director on our initiatives team, and I have a few members here with us on our CALE team who will be helping us throughout this entire project. I also want to give a shout out to Scott Campbell, who's on this call as well. He was really pivotal in connecting us to this work with you all and being able to allow us to provide our expertise through this partnership. We also have Jeannie McCarran, who is here as well. Jeannie, if you wanted to hop off mute.
Sure. Thank you, Alamir. My name is Jeannie McCarran. It's my honor to be here with so much talent and so many people working together to achieve similar goals for our communities. I'm Vice President of Member Engagement, and I look forward to this project, working with each of you, and bringing in the resources and knowledge from our 5,000 plus membership to this, this great initiative. So thank you.
And Ashley Fabian is also on our team. She did have to hop off, but she will also be helping to support some of our work with each of your individual institutions. And then Scott, if you wanted to hop off mute as well, just really quick to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Almir. And it is wonderful to see such talent in this space. We're excited about this work. This is what we live to do, I think we have a good support team in place, but we're equally as excited to collaborate with all of you that are part of this project.
All right, we're going to jump, before I get into this next section of the program, I do want to touch on a couple things, some housekeeping I should have started with. If you have questions, feel free to toss them in the Zoom chat and we'll address them as they came up. I've got an individual question just confirming, are we still taking participants to the program? And the answer is yes. So We decided we know a lot's going on in the higher ed space in Michigan. We're going to keep the application window open until our first convening in March, or we hit capacity, whichever comes first. So we've got a number of institutions that are planning on being in, and have already submitted their applications, but we know there's a few more that would love to. They just haven't gotten the information to us about who's participating. You have some time to do that. If you know of other colleagues at other institutions or other institutions that would be interested in joining, you can please help spread the word that this will be available. And as you can see, we've got a great team to help provide supports, coaching, guidance, etc., to help you with your goals for improving your institutional effectiveness for adult learners. So, we're really excited about this opportunity to bring folks from ESG and SOVA back to the state for our design lab, for our next design lab. They were great partners in our first one, and we're super excited to have the CBEN and KL teams to be part of this next round of the design lab as well, and just provide so many more opportunities and access to resources, supports, etc., to move your goals forward. So with that, we wanted to take a minute. We didn't pre-script any of this, so wanted to see if some of the folks from the institutions, we got a few of them on, want to hop on, say hi, ask any questions, but more importantly, if you could introduce yourself, if you're from one of the institutions, and what you're interested in pursuing as we go forward. And I can randomly start on calling on people if I have to, but look forward to volunteers first. You can either raise your hand or just come off mute and hop in.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Sinaki. I'm the Director of Student Success at Muskegon Community College. We're really excited to be a part of this. We have two awarded grants, the IIA and the College Success Grant, and both are focused on and interwoven with one another about adult learners. So very excited to be here. So thank you very much. And I will be having to hop off for a provost interview session. So
good luck with that, Steve. And we're excited to have you guys back for this design lab and help move your work forward still. Kevin, see you raising your hand.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Kevin Asman. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs at Mott Community College. We are looking for ways to enhance some of the exciting work we've already done in our newly founded Adult Student Success Center, which is providing specialized intake and wraparound services for students over the age of 25.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kevin. We're excited to be continuing to work with Mott. So he's been doing some great work there too.
My hand feature doesn't work. Katarina always like was here, so I'm just going to chime right in. I'm from Aquinas College in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a small liberal arts Catholic college in the Dominican tradition. And I've served as Associate Provost for Outreach and Engagement, currently Director of Grants Compliance and Strategic Engagement. I'm also serving as Chair for the Continuing Education or Adult Education Faculty Committee, and then my sidekick as being a faculty member. My question to all of you here is today, while I'm absorbing all the knowledge you're sharing, is going back to what you mentioned, Jeremy, we have seen quite a decrease in, well, first of all, high school students going to college. And that's not only because of the most recent pandemic, but I'd also like to have a conversation with all of you, possibly today or ongoing, on what it exactly is that brings our adult learners back to get a credential, an associate's degree, possibly a, move on to the bachelor's and what have you. So it's really the motivation behind it, why our adult learners ages 21, meaning the kiddos that finished high school but fell off the wagon somewhere, and the 25-plus-year-olds, to really see, in order to address their needs, what are their needs? Thanks for having us here today.
That is a great question. And unfortunately, you probably don't have the time today to dive into that, but we can certainly continue to work with you through this process. And one of the things we'll be doing through this is we like to survey our institutions to make sure we're meeting your needs and your questions. So you'll hear about this later too. You'll get a survey while we're on this about what you're looking forward to exploring more. Feel free to add that in so we make sure we cover those and give time for those discussions and topics you are interested in our future convenings. What I'll give as a short answer is you've got A great set of resources here in this team between the work that all of these organizations have been doing that can help answer that question for you. I know the CALE team has done a lot of work on adults over the 50-year history of their organization about how you can how to engage them better and get them to where they need to be. We've done a lot of research on that as well, and have been putting that research to practice, and have seen some really cool things happening about getting more adults to enroll in college over the last year. Anything from how do you find the adults with interest? How do you engage them? What are their barriers? How do you smooth that pathway for them to re-engage? And what do you need to do as an institution to better serve them and meet their needs? Because many of these adults are balancing work, family obligations, which are their first two priorities, and education comes third. So how do you deliver services in a manner that can fit their lifestyle as well? So we'll certainly be exploring more of those topics and look forward to having a deeper conversation on that. Great question. All right. Who else wants to hop in and say hi?
I'll say hi. Michael Zaborowski from Ferris State University, and we had an opportunity of going through the experience last year. But one of the things we'd like to focus in on this year that we really didn't focus in on last year was how can we enhance our partnerships, our bringing to the table for this My Learn experience is to really bring in our faculty to enhance some opportunities for work-based learning, try to enhance our partnerships to create potentially employer tuition assistance partnerships, and also to create some unique accelerated degree pathways for our students that allow them to, build upon prior learning experiences and move through an associate's degree or a certificate much quicker.
Fantastic. We're glad to have you back. It's good to see you again, Michael.
Hi, I can go. I'm Abby Lipsker. I'm Director of Continuing Studies at Calvin University. And I've got another colleague on the call as well here, Sarah Planiga. And my work is focused on our brand new degree completion programs that are launching in fall of 2025, as well as some other access-based programs for adult learners. And so I think this kind of design lab would really help us to help faculty at Calvin do that work of redesigning 16-week courses into accelerated formats that have project-based learning that's accessible to adult learners. And we need a lot of help here, specifically on culture shift of how do we start really thinking in every area of the university about who an adult learner is and what they need and how we can best serve them. And so I'm hopeful that it will just be wonderful to be on a larger team of people who are thinking about this, because here at Calvin, there is very, very, very little resource to do this work right now. And we're hopeful to just continue to build a community of practice where we can get better in this. So thankful for you all.
Thank you, Abby. We're hoping we get a good community of practice going out of this effort. So, a couple common themes I've heard so far is that culture change and engaging the faculty and engaging the other members, and we'll certainly cognizant. We heard that from the first design lab as something that folks were interested in. So we started this when we started with a focus of making sure that we embed those conversations in the programming we provide for everybody in this process as well. So thank you for that. All right. Who else? Anybody else want to hop in and say hi? And looking to see if I've missed anybody that's still here. So
I can say hello. Caleb Patrick, Interim Vice President for Innovation and Online at Central Michigan University. As you, I think, is a reoccurring story during this introduction. Many of us participated in the previous design lab, learned and got a ton of great work out of it. A bunch of kudos to Bruce, who's on the call today, for all of his support and help with us. And we're really, obviously, very interested in this process as well. the most central question that I have, pardon the pun coming from CMU, that I have today based on the new design lab is, will we be in our timeline wrap up so that we can submit for those announced grants that just came out, the new 60 by 30 just the other day? Or is the planned timeline to go beyond that? Because we want to try and target the completion of this experience to coincide with those application deadlines.
That is a great question. And our goal is to be nimble, and it will depend on one of our lessons learned. Thank you for all of those that were willing to jump with us on our first design lab. So one of our lessons learned is we also are very aware that not every institution is in the same place. So for those that are in a good position, and we will help you get to those May grants, May and June grants. For those that might need more time, we'll hopefully, like I said, if all goes well, have $15 million in student success grants available next fiscal year as well. And for those that might need the extra time, have you in a great position for those. So
Jeremy, would
That's a
you
good
mind
point,
if I just jumped into underscore Caleb? The SOVA coaching team is absolutely ready to roll for the deadlines on those grants. So we have been thinking about as we are thinking about the support to provide and what it means to meet institutions where they are, as Jeremy's saying, we know about those deadlines. And for those of you who want to run for those, we are here to run alongside and help you get that done.
Thank you, Allison. I appreciate that. And having worked with Bruce, that is not in question. I'm sure that will be the case.
And
yeah, we don't. Our timeline, we'll go over the timeline in a bit. You'll see that it runs well into next year, but we don't want folks to miss opportunities if there's opportunities along the way. So, anybody else?
I'll jump in. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Quattro. I'm Director of Educational Outreach and Transfer Initiatives at Wayne State. And we weren't part of the first design lab, but we're excited to be part of this design lab. And we are a recipient of the IIA grant. And what we were looking to do for the grant is really focus around CPL and the development of a credit for prior learning. And then kind of twofold look at how we can expand advanced credit mobility in our transfer pathways. We started a transfer pathways program a few years back. We'd like to expand that and see how we can work on integration with CPL within that structure and some of the work that we've done there with the community colleges. And then last but not least, we're looking at a focus on enhancing what we've already been doing to support students in transition in terms of adult learners and how we can better support those students coming in. We're also hoping to have a new vice provost for partnership and workforce named relatively soon, probably in the next couple of weeks or so, who we anticipate being an active member and participating within this work.
Awesome. Appreciate you participating this time around. And I know the Wayne State team was a guest presenter in our last design lab, so we appreciated that as well. So thank you.
We had Daryl out there. Yep.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah, Liz.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Liz Lee. I'm also at Aquinas with Kati. She introduced herself and brought up some good questions. My role is a new role based on the needs of the organization and the community. So I have personally done design lab things in my previous roles and just leadership development. So I think this is a really exciting initiative. I've worked with Michelle Burke in the past, and so that's super exciting for our paths to cross again, as you can see in my non-private chat to her. But yeah, I'm super excited. Like I said, I'm new in my role. I'm overseeing continuing education and graduate enrollment. So kind of that non-traditional pipeline here at Aquinas, and then also oversee the financial aid functions. So a lot, if you're keeping up with the financial aid landscape, fun and interesting world for me lately, but I'm super excited to be here and learn from you all and partner together. So thanks for hosting.
Fantastic. All right, do we have anybody else? Miss anybody?
I mean, I can jump in and say hi quickly too.
Yep.
So I have
that is one
Abby.
faith I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, no worries. I'm Abby's colleague at Calvin University, and I actually work in the admissions office. So I'm one of the associate directors in the admissions office, but work with a lot of our adult and continuing populations. So it covers a wide variety of populations right now, all the way from dual enrolled high school students to our adult learners to our graduate students. But working on with Abby on getting those students to consider Calvin, thinking about enrollment strategy, recruitment effort, marketing, and how we can get them here, get them applied, get them through that enrollment funnel. So that's kind of my perspective and take.
Fantastic. All right. I think we've caught everybody, because I know there was a comment in chat. Did I miss somebody?
Hi, I'm Abby.
So close.
One more. I know, just squeaking in at the last minute. I work with Caleb Patrick at CMU, so I help out in the Office of Innovation and Online with academic and professional programs, work on stackable credentials. This time we're focusing on competency-based education, so very much looking forward to tapping into all of the expertise that we have in this room, working with you all and learning from you all. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. It's a fantastic crew, and I love to hear what everybody's focused on and the energy behind it. So, all right, at the risk of missing anybody, I think I'm going to move on. So but feel free to holler real quick if I skipped you. I was also really terrible at doing introductions for my own team, I realized. I talked about the center, but I didn't introduce who all was working with the center. So I'll start by introducing Michelle Burke. She's off camera. She's not feeling great today, but she'll be a key part of the team, and it is a key part of the team at the center. She's the director of our post-secondary programs and partnerships. So if you ever need anything out of the center in general, we were created by the state to be a resource to all post-secondary institutions. So feel free to hit us up. Michelle will be one of your lead contacts, just generally speaking. And then I'm going to turn it over for this next batch on what we're actually going to do in MyLearn, now that you've met the team, to Matt DeMonbrun, who's our research director at the center. So Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to see everyone's faces. Some old folks from, I say old, in our previous design lab, and some new faces as well. So we are very excited about pulling this team together. In case you were unaware, this has been probably about a 6 to 7 month coordinating planning effort, getting all these folks in the room together. So we're super excited with the team that we've been able to pull together. And thank you all for your willingness to participate and learn a little bit more. To sort of highlight some of the basic components of what we're aiming for out of the MyLearn. And as Jeremy alluded to, and we've kind of had some discussions about, this will look a little bit different than those that participate in our previous design lab, MyRaise, not only for the fact that there's not necessarily the sort of like grant money, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but really more so in the way that we're going to create and design each of these sessions in order to make them applicable to the things that you might be focusing on or looking for within curricular change. We chose curricular change because that was one of the things that, in last year's design lab, we were talking about big systemic, broad level changes. And one of the things that came up often, and I don't think a lot of institutions had a lot of opportunities to kind of dive into further, was curricular changes. Obviously, as higher education institutions, really the aim and goal and the design of higher education is instruction. And so the idea of ultimately trying to find out new ways in order to utilize what may be best practices or new emerging strategies and how to specifically work with adult learners, individuals that are coming in with a little bit of different needs than your traditional students. So some of the things that we're aiming for out of these goals are to demonstrate the benefit of highlighting these promised practices to adult students. For a lot of folks, you may be familiar with how adults differ from traditional students, but I do hear some questions and some things have come about for, how do we target this population? And what is this target, population like? And what entices them to come back to higher education? So thinking about those things, and then also thinking about how any practices that you may be doing, both from a student services level, but again, MyLearn really focusing on the teaching level, how those practices address those differences and really cater to or try to meet adult learners at the goals that they need. So we'll provide you all with some evidence of positive impact on adult enrollment, persistence, and completion. These are things that, especially folks that are working with their top level administrators, oftentimes presidents and provosts and all those folks that are in the sort of executive office level, they want to see what the benefits are, right? And it's not to say that they're not genuinely interested in helping adult students to be successful, retain, graduate, but really more so about understanding the bottom line of the institution. If you're seeing decreasing enrollments, how can we justify this increased cost of all these things we have to do? And so making sure that we make that very clear and evident that these, utilizing these practices will benefit you as an institution, both from a standpoint of being able to serve the adult learners in your area, but then also to be able to sort of maintain your fiscal longevity. Talking about increasing awareness and understanding the promising practices with faculty, administration, and local employers. We have some faculty in here in the room. I have been an adjunct for ages and worked in academia and higher education for 10 to 15 years now, and worked with tons of faculty on curricular innovations and curricular projects through teaching and learning centers. That can often be a hard conversation to have with multiple faculty. Why should I change my teaching strategy? Then, if sort of if it works, why fix it? If it isn't broken, why fix it? So what we're trying to aim for out of this is also to better equip individuals with the ability to have those conversations with faculty unions. We have some folks on our team that have worked with California community colleges. And although I've not had that experience, most of what we've talked about is that the California community college system is kind of on steroids when it comes to unions and union work, and working with unions. And so we're really excited to have the experience and expertise that we have to be able to have those conversations as well. Other ideas include implementing and utilizing adult success dashboards. These are data points that allow you to be able to see where potential stop gaps or gateway courses might exist, or where you're losing students, or maybe where you've not been able to attract students. And so looking at this sort of like general trajectory of a student's curriculum, what we would call academic momentum, and continuing forward through graduation, where are they potentially stopping out at? And are there ways that you could reshape those courses in order to better serve those learners? And again, this benefits both traditional learners as well as our adult learners. One of the goals out of this project is for you to have an implementation plan for curricular change. And I want to be really clear that this does not mean that like we expect once you have this that you're ready to go. You may decide as an institution that you're ready to go. Everything's already in place. It's really just developing the plan and moving forward with it. Other institutions, you may have to have some conversations, and there may be some additional conversations to have. And so really it's thinking through, what would you need? And in the efforts of that, what would you need financially? What would you need from sort of a structure standpoint? What would you need from just general person power? And helping you to understand those things so that we can help you get those things in place, that when you're ready for that implementation, you can essentially kind of move forward with that implementation plan from that point. And again, highlighting the resources. And I know we've talked a lot about state and state funding. We have several independent colleges that are on the call with us, and sometimes they're not eligible for that same funding. So the goal is not just, obviously we're going to focus on state funding as well, because that is a nice big pot of money that's provided to our institutions. But we're also going to focus on external grants, right? And other grant foundations that may be able to be helpful in how allowing you to achieve your goals. So, state is certainly a focus here, but I want to make sure that we're clear that when we talk about resources, we're talking about resources across the board. And we're really excited for the folks that we have on board to be able to help you in that sort of grant writing process or grant development process. And thinking through, how do you go to this point of getting, something in front of a group that might be able to provide some external funding, with the understanding also that external funding is only so limited and only lasts so long. And so if you all have worked with us before, our name and our number is sustainability. And so we're happy to get folks started on that platform, but really thinking through how can you make this sustainable as an institution moving forward? Because when the grant funding potentially runs out in 2 to 3 years, Are you going to get rid of those programs, or are they going to be able to sustain moving forward? Christine, you can go ahead and go forward. So talk about the process. What would this entail as being a part of the MyLearn Design Lab? We're right now in phase one, which is really identifying institutions and selections, and then some specific assessment items as well. One of the things that's really important to know is to understand your adult population. We're going to learn a little bit more from Kale about what they're offering for their Adult Learner 360. We'll also have some institutional self-assessments that will allow you to be able to see sort of like where are you at as an institution, where are you at as far as your curriculum, and what are the things you still need moving forward? Sort of the know thyself kind of motto behind it. You really have to know who you are as an institution before you can start to continue forward as what's the curriculum plan, or what's the next innovation or the change that works right for us, right? And so in the effort of that, it's not only learning about yourself, but learning about broadly what things are out there. And so the first couple of months, we're really going to have broader monthly large group meetings, and these will be both alternated virtually as well as in person. And we'll talk more about those as we sort of continue on in the design lab. Those that were in the MyRaise design lab previous year, it's going to look very similar in a lot of ways, but we will have monthly groups and opportunities for you all to come together as groups and talk through, with other institutions or with your team colleagues, how do we think this might work within our specific environment, or do we, or what should we focus on? And so really the first phase is focusing on some of all of these sort of like, initiatives and things that could be done. Phase two is, okay, now let's think of something that might be applicable to your institution. And so what we will do from that point is really helping you in developing this plan. And this is where our coaches will really shine and allow you to better understand, what do we want to focus on as an institution? And then, the idea here is, and especially we learned this in our last design lab, institutions really benefit from learning from one another, right? And in a lot of ways, like I feel like in the environment in Michigan, there's been driven this sort of competition, and yet there are a lot of adult learners. You saw the numbers that we have to sort of get in order to even get to 60% credential rate. There are a lot of adult learners out there, and we can really benefit from learning from one another. And so part of this process is if we have institutions that are working on similar things, let's say two institutions decide that they want to revitalize their credit for prior learning, sort of the documentation or the specific documents and the way that they do credit for prior learning. We want to team those institutions up together because they may be able to learn from one another. Oh, yes, this is something that we've considered as an institution, and be able to sort of bounce that feedback off of one another. After we've had the chance to sort of hone in some of these ideas, will really allow the focus on the coaching sessions, working with coaches to better understand, how do you develop this process? What will it take? So on and so forth. And then our final phase being the actual implementation when you're ready for that, or grant writing supports to be able to help you to get the funding or support that you need for that. Talking about our convening schedule, we wanted to go ahead and make sure that you all had these dates on the calendar. These are flexible to some extent. So, if we have a lot of institutions that say, oh, this is a massive thing, please let us know. Especially if there's something statewide that we've not considered. We tried to consider all conferences, and everybody's busy, our team included. Trying to even get these dates amongst our team was quite an endeavor in and of itself. But we understand, there may be limitations in who's available, but we wanted to make sure that you had these available. So go ahead and mark these on your calendars. If you know of specific conflicts, please let us know. We'll see what we can do. But really, and as Jeremy alluded to, we will share these dates out after the meeting as well. Thinking through, okay, we're in March, we're going to likely do our first virtual convening. That's a little bit more flexible. We tried it around lunchtime. Not that we want to steal your lunch, but listen, we know how hard it is to sometimes get a spot on your calendars with how busy you all are and everything that's going on. And so, the ways in which we can potentially sort of do a lunch and learn type of environment and allow you the opportunity to glean a little bit more about what our experts have to say about a specific topic. So March 11th, we'll start our virtual convenings. We'll do our first in-person convening. The location is still to be determined on April 9th and 10th. We'll have another virtual convening in May. And then we'll do an in-person convening in June. And we've went ahead and selected Traverse City because we did this last year for the My Raise cohort, and really everybody loved it. I mean, this is a wonderful time to be like up north, great weather. It's right before Cherry Festival. And so, really wonderful, I think, opportunity to sort of showcase the northern part of the state. And I think oftentimes when we talk about conferences and we talk about convenings, everything focuses on Grand Rapids, Lansing, Detroit, sort of the general metro areas. We want to highlight some of our communities that are particularly towards the upper part of the Lower Peninsula, and some of our rural communities, and being able to showcase those things as well. Talking about some of the topics that we will consider. And again, we would love your feedback on this. If there's something that's not here, or if there's something that you see here that you would love to really have some additional information on, please let us know. As we alluded to, we'll have an evaluation at the end of this. We would love to get your feedback as far as this is a topic that we really think we're going to focus on. Or if you don't know yet, these are the general things that we're interested in. So some of the ideas: credit for prior learning, competency-based education, change management, which was in our previous design lab, but continuing forward in that, using data to accelerate change, writing strong grants. How do we go about writing grants and targeting certain external or internal funders within the state? Leading from where you are, leveraging grants funding opportunities, and then process mapping and sort of student journey mapping as a change leadership tool. Again, this is non-exhaustive. If you think of things that you're interested in or that you would love to cover, please let us know either in evaluation or just send us an email as well. So talking about some of the different institutional services that we'll sort of provide as part of your participation in this. So obviously providing support for your cross-functional design team. If you remember from the application, those of you who've seen it or filled it out already, the things we're asking for is we want somebody from an executive leadership, because we want to make sure that we have the ability to, somebody that's towards the top that can say, yes, we're ready for this, or here are the things that we might need to change, or the ways in which we might be able to utilize this. A senior faculty member, an individual with direct responsibilities for teaching and learning. We've already heard there's some folks that are in the provost assistant, interim, vice, sort of area, thinking through if that's the sort of direct person or somebody else that would be a faculty member. But again, helping to understand that sort of curricular environment. And then an internal research staff or institutional research member. I know that's hard to collect those individuals sometimes, but really thinking through, if this is going to be a data-oriented process, and we always encourage it to be, you need somebody that's on the data end to say that's currently in place, or it's not in place, or we can't do that currently, or we still need this, or so on and so forth. We want to be able to provide data analysis to pinpoint obstacles and refine proposed solutions. So we will work with you as far as identifying what those potential data points are that might be helpful, and where you might be able to target your work, and then designing a scalable implementation plan. And so thinking about, how do you scale this up? Do you start, we hope you start small and then kind of think how you sort of expand it into bigger and better from there. But, what does that look like? What's the timeline for it? What's the cost? What are the resources you'll need, et cetera, et cetera. Design lab process in and of itself is 10 months long. In that process, we're going to have you complete an adult learner's needs assessment that's just generally understanding better. This is the AL 360, which I'll just leave Kale to talk about, because they'll do a better job than I will of talking about what that entails. We're going to have another institutional capacity assessment that will allow you to be able to see where you're at as an institution and what you still may need, identifying those targeted instructional reforms, and then developing a full-scale implementation plan. And one of the things that we've not put in here that we'll be doing as part of our partnership with Kale is every institution that's a part of the design lab will have a year membership to Kale. Kale is a wonderful resource. Our colleagues in CBIN and Kale are both absolutely fantastic resources. The things that we personally from the center get from Kale are absolutely instrumental in our understanding of the adult learner landscape, as well as what's happening nationally. We want to make sure that you have those benefits as well. So we'll talk more about what that looks like and how to sort of sign up and who's the lead to it. But I want to make sure and highlight that along with the Adult Learner 360, which Kale will introduce in just a second, that's another benefit of being part of the design lab. We talked about some of the technical assistance piece, so making sure that we've got some of those high quality tailored assistance strategies, dedicated support over a 10-month period, and really thinking about how to fully leverage multiple funding opportunities in the state or external grant resources as well. Strategic thought leadership, you heard Caleb talk about his experience with Bruce Vandal and all of the sort of SOVA team being really phenomenal feedback loops to be able to talk through, your changes and things like that. That's one of the probably the biggest benefits of being a part of this design lab process, is the ability to bounce ideas off your fellow colleagues at other institutions as well as experts in the area. And then obviously talking about things, how to elevate institutional efforts and data and analysis support. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our colleagues at Kale to talk a little bit more about the Adult Learner 360. It is a very intensive process sometimes, and so I want them to be able to sort of demystify what that entails, what the sort of obligation of the institutions might be, how you can best utilize it, so on and so forth. So without further ado, Alamir, I don't know if you want to take the lead or whoever wants to take the lead with the Kale group.
Sure. Thanks, Matt. I'll go ahead and kick us off. Along with our credit for prior learning consultation services, one of our signature tools is our Adult Learner 360 survey process. And so what it is an opportunity for us to provide a temperature check on how you are serving adult learners at your institution. We're able to identify your strengths, some challenges, and provide some recommendations for you to address some of those challenges. This is a 2-survey process. So one survey goes to adult learners, specifically measuring adult learner satisfaction with your programs and policies and their experiences at your institution. And then one goes to a select number of faculty and staff that are a lot more closely involved with your adult learners, and they can speak to their perceptions of quality effectiveness when it comes to those policies and practices. And so with this process, we do all of the heavy lifting, developing the surveys, putting together some communication templates, and really for us to provide you a link to send out and distribute to those select faculty and staff and your adult learners. So, a lot of the work will be coming from us to analyze your results. And then that eventually leads to our webinar debrief, where we're able to discuss the results and talk about ways that you may already be addressing some of these opportunities. And this entire process, from start to finish, our launch to our debrief, is about 8 to 10 weeks. And we can talk a little bit more deeply about this entire process once we have that launch call with individual institutions. And so with that, I will turn it over to Jeannie to talk about some of our membership benefits.
Excellent. Thank you, Alamir, and thank you, Matt, for bringing up your feelings about Cal membership that meant the world to me. So thank you. And I do want to talk about how the Cal membership is so integral to this project, as well as the AL 360 that will be implemented. So if you want to go to the next slide. So first of all, in case you don't know Cal membership, who are our Cal members? We're an incredible community of over 5,000 individuals represented in every state. And we also have an ecosystem approach. I heard that word used, I think, by Lori and a couple others. We have members from post-secondary, from employers, and from workforce and economic development. In the past 3 years, we've had a growth of about 65% in membership. It kind of tells you where our are advocates for adult learners and workers, how they're feeling, and that they need resources, best practices, collaboration, communication, best research findings, and that really syncs up with the goals of what this initiative is looking to do. So I'm really thrilled to be a part of this, and that Cal membership is a part of how schools and universities will advance in their work serving adult learners and workers. So if you want to go to the next slide. So we have a very robust suite of member benefits. And it has to do with connecting with others, you know, that community part, having solutions, having access to resources that help you do your work, and also tools and savings and membership. So what I love about integrating and talking about AL360 and membership is, as Alamir said, when you take a look at your AL360 results, your findings, and a focus, what areas of focus will you need to do over the next, you know, time period? What Cal membership can do in this instance is curate our member benefits around those themes. So that someone mentioned meeting you where you are. That is what Cal membership does, is we want to meet each institution and college or member where they are. We know what your results will be from AL360, and we're going to curate these member benefits to help you move forward in your goals and take you beyond this time period. So we're really excited to be a partner in Cal membership benefits, and I really look forward to working with everybody to make this the best it can be. So thank you.
All right, we're gonna try something new this time around. So Kaylee just put a link in the chat for a survey. So we'll give you a minute to click that open and run through it. It shouldn't take too long. We want to hear back from each of the institutions to see how this program went today, and as well as kind of what you're looking to do and a little bit more. For those that participated in my raise, you're familiar, we regularly try to survey. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation today, you know, our goal is to support institutions, meet you where you are, and help you with your goals. Matt's walked through kind of what we've been attempting to do, or what we think will meet your goals, and what we're planning on doing in the design lab. But a key point of that, as Matt highlighted, is making sure that we customize this work to the best of our ability to support where you want to go in serving your adult learners. So we'll give you a minute to work on loading up that survey and filling it out. For folks that had to drop off, the survey will be emailed out to them as well. And then we'll give it just a minute, and then we'll move into next steps, and then we'll open the floor for any final questions and answers. I saw a question pop up in the chat. Would there be an interest in best practices and accelerated programs? I hope so. Trying to remember where we were, Matt. Not that long ago, we just had a really enlightening conversation with some folks about the value of the 8-week course schedule with adult learners. So
Yeah, our folks at SOVA can particularly highlight, I think, a lot of institutions that they have worked with as well. And I know Gail can also with the 8-week and how beneficial it is, and especially for adult learners. So yeah, that would be wonderful if we get a lot of folks that are interested.
One of the things that's really interesting about 8-week courses is that it doesn't just benefit adult learners. It also benefits those learners who are relatively new to college and just not sure what to expect. That gives them an opportunity to focus on fewer courses, but more intensely. Speaking as someone who is the mother of one of those students who was so happy when he had that opportunity, I think it prepared him really well for what came next, gave him a much firmer foundation.
It's also the best way to help students go full-time. So who can't otherwise go full-time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of challenges that are addressed, but it is, as Abby said and others, it is a tremendously heavy lift, and it is as much about culture as it is about sort of technical process. And so, but it is there, it's never been a better time to go in that direction, with a lot of examples of successful skilled implementation of these models. So it's cool.
All right, we'll kind of start covering the next steps. So if you're still working on the survey, that's fine. So obviously, step one, complete that post-event survey and evaluation. We want to know how we did and how we can serve you better. Please keep an eye out on your email inboxes for direct outreach. So we'll be reaching out to a combination of folks that have signed up on this for the webinar, because we know we have folks that were interested in the program but haven't submitted an application. For those that have submitted an application, we'll be reaching out to the folks on that application as well. So keep an eye on your email for notifications from us and updates. And then, of course, hold the March 11th time frame from noon to 1:30, and the April 9th and 10th for our in-person convening. We've had at least one institution already send me a direct message on potentially hosting, but if any other institutions are interested in hosting for the April 9th and 10th convening, let us know. Format for those, by the way, we don't usually do all-day programming both days. We'll talk more about what to expect with that as we get a little bit closer. And if you're an institution that's interested in hosting, I will give major kudos to the ESG team, who do a phenomenal job of wrangling all of us cats and putting together an awesome program, and makes it really easy to host. So it shouldn't be a lot of work on any institution's part if they want to host. We'll do a lot of the heavy lifting. We'll just need the appropriate contacts at your institution to set up the details with. So if you're interested in hosting, let us know as we work to nail down a location. And as Matt also said, we'll be sending this out with all of the dates through the summer, or at least early summer, of when we'll have convenings. If your institution has a major challenge on any of those, let us know. Something you'll hear me regularly say is don't suffer in silence. Michiganders have a great ability to do that. So if we're not meeting your needs, or one of these convening dates is a problem for you, let us know, and we will work our best to figure out how we can accommodate those challenges. And as Matt said, if we did our best to comb calendars, and we know April 9th and 10th can be some institution spring breaks. There's just no great time in April, but if it turns out like 8 of our 10 institutions, or if we get more signing up, can't make that, well, we'll have to make some adjustments and pivot ourselves, and we're willing to do that if we have to. So, but we need to know. So let us know if you have any issues. With that, Christine, you want to go to the next slide, and we'll open it up for any questions that anybody may have of us, the team, about the design lab, or you got a few minutes, anything else that might be on your mind, if there are any questions. And again, you can just either put them in chat, raise your hand, or feel free to hop in if nobody else is speaking. It's the wonderful pause of either we just crushed it so well that you have no questions, or everybody doesn't want to be the first person to ask a question.
I feel like both things can be true.
So Jeremy, I'll jump in. This is Ed Suniger from Delta College. We have been doing a lot of work in this space, CPL space, and accelerate course space for recruitment and retention. Familiar with the data and advantages of accelerated courses for new students and adult students. We have a plan we started out with, so we're excited to participate and refine our plan. And so we're looking for the center to help us kind of bootstrap the various activities and tell our story, but make sure the story is in alignment with what we've been doing. We've had a lot of resources that have contributed, so we have a lot of pieces we need to bring together. We need time and space to be able to do that, and someone to assist us to do that. So I'm looking forward to our team and the MyLearn Lab help us do that. And a product from that, in my opinion, would be an updated plan, taking into account what we've learned and what this next phase should look like for our students and for Delta College.
No, that's fantastic. And I think we can certainly do that. As we noted it early on in this, one of our lessons learned is to be much more flexible and nimble in our delivery of services here, because we know institutions are at very different stages and levels of their journey on any of these items. So happy to help kind of refine and bring some, additional expertise and insights on how we can kind of refine that plan. And elevate the work that you're doing as well. So one of the things, we didn't really talk about it much in here, but one of our goals from the center's perspective is to really start lifting up the stories from institutions who are doing great work around the state. And we may have to ask you and the Delta team maybe to share a little bit about their experiences, because I know you guys are ways down the road on some of these efforts, about how you got there, and kind of share your story too on the journey for those that might be not as far along. So happy to help out on that, and excited to have you as part of the team. Looking forward to supporting the Delta College crew.
Great. Always interested in sharing our bumps and bruises.
That's one of the big things we really want to share. Because one of the things I've learned, you can find like what works in a lot of places. They always talk about like the really happy outcomes, but nobody talks about what all the problems and challenges they encountered across the way and how they overcame those. So that's really what we want to dive into as we go through some of this stuff with our sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I will highlight, and I think that's precisely what we mean when we're saying, everybody's going to be in a different place. We have some other folks, I know Central is well along their way as part of their Innovation Investment Award and doing some of this work. They have a plan in place. Others may just be exploring, and that's okay. We're going to work with everyone wherever they're at and make sure that they, if they've got a plan ready to go and they're just looking to scale it, how do we do this? This is what we know we want to do. We will certainly work with you and make sure that you can get that plan into place. If you're starting at step one, we know we need to do something, we just don't know what it is. I think that's sort of the goal. Those are the spectrums of what people work on, and so we're happy to help wherever folks are at.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, to steal one of Allison's lines that I've adopted and absolutely love, the greatest gift is the gift of time, and we're always happy to give that back to folks. So well, if everybody's good, stay tuned to your email. There'll be future communications coming out. If you have questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. The general email for the center is thecenter@talentfirst.net. But you can find us on the website, or if you've got our contact information, otherwise, hit us up. Happy to answer questions along the way. Thank you all. I'm excited to get working with each of your institutions. It was great to see and meet you all today.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Yeah.